Hello, and thank you for joining us today for Indoor Positioning in Retail, a webinar produced by Acuity Brands and Navigant Research. My name is Matthew Spady. I'm a managing consultant at Navigant Research and will be your host. Today's webinar will begin with an overview of trends in the U.S. retail market, and then move into a discussion of LED-based technology positioning. Just what is it? After that, we'll talk about how retailers are using indoor positioning in their stores. At the conclusion, we'll have a Q&A. We invite you to submit your questions throughout the webinar using the On24 interface on your screen. Also, we have a white paper that complements today's webinar. You can download it by clicking the Research Resource widget, which you should see on your On24 interface directly underneath the Q&A widget. And now, let me introduce today's panel. From Acuity, we have Jason Viland, Director of Retail Vertical Markets. Jay, would you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Matthew. Hello, everybody. My name is Jay Wyland. I support and manage the retail vertical at Acuity Brands. Background in business and engineering, and I look forward to sharing today with you the indoor positioning research we've done for you.
Thanks, Jay. We also have Vinod Kashyap, Acuity's Director of IoT Product Markets. Vinod, would you say a few words about yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Matthew. Yeah, hi, this is Vinod Kashyap. I am part of Acuity's IoT, Internet of Things business unit. I currently manage the Indoor Positioning Solutions product group, which involves both product development and marketing. I come from the Acuity's Luminaire product side, and previous to that, I worked at a health and fitness IoT company.
Thanks very much, Vinod. And from Navigant Research, we have research analyst Crystal Maxwell. Crystal, would you introduce yourself to the audience?
Yes, hi, thanks Matthew. Hi everyone, I'm Crystal Maxwell and I'm a research analyst at Navigant Research and I contribute to the Building Innovations program. At my work here, I focus on market analysis of the lighting sector, including emerging markets for lighting technologies, connected and smart lighting for both commercial and residential buildings, and lighting controls. And I'm looking forward to talking with you all today about indoor positioning in the retail segment.
Thanks very much, Crystal. And now let's get right into our discussion. Jay, would you get us started?
Absolutely. Thank you, Matthew. So as we dive into this webinar, we're going to first start off with a little bit of context in the market of retail. And because we've got a very diverse audience on the phone, I'm going to cover the market and trends in retail. We're going to also look at a little bit of market and trends of the lighting and building side of the equation. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the lighting and, the trends in indoor positioning, various types of technology that complement this research paper, just to level set everybody. So to start off with trends in the U.S. retail market, for those that are not involved in this on a daily basis, retail is a very disrupted marketplace. And I think a lot of us have the opportunity to see this on a daily basis and just how we consume. Companies like Amazon.com, for example, I'm sure there's a good number of folks on the phone that use some of these services that Amazon provides, such as Amazon Prime. That changes how we buy. And as consumers change their buying behaviors, it challenges traditional brick and mortar companies to change how they also go to market. With that, technology is a big part of what's happening today in today's retailing market. So mobile is on the rise, for example. The way consumers are deciding to purchase and research in-store and out-of-store challenges retailers and how they're going to engage with their customers. An interesting trend, retail store visits have, between the years of 2009, were around 35 billion, and just in 2013, only a span of 4 years, dropped to 17 billion. So this is challenging retailers and how they use that available space and how they engage with their customers. Another interesting statistic, 38% of all purchases use both store and digital channels. This is actually an increasing trend. It's up 2% year over year. And it's forcing retailers to engage their customers in these multiple channels. The term that's used in retail is called omni-channel. So as consumers use both mobile, online, and in-store, retailers are challenged to provide a consistent experience across all of these channels. In addition, there's a lot of change in how the format of these stores look and feel. There's a trend in going to smaller footprint stores. There's also a change in how, once a customer goes into these stores, how they're engaged with the associates in that store to maximize that experience. So to talk a little bit more about that, the next slide is actually from PricewaterhouseCoopers in their latest Total Retail Survey. This is just to kind of hammer home the increase in the rise of mobile in the retail environment. And the challenge that retailers have, there's a lot of great data that's able to be captured in mobile as well as on e-commerce websites, but it's very challenging to get data once that customer is in the store on exactly how that information that has been served to them in these channels actually then comes into play when the customer is actually in that space. Another important thing to note here too is that bricks and mortar is still alive and well. When we look at trends in the marketplace, even though Amazon is an online retailer, they're also moving now into a physical store format. So because people still do want to have that in-store presence. The challenge is then how do retailers actually complement these multiple channels. Okay, briefly, I'm going to cover a little bit on the lighting side for those that are not familiar with the lighting market. So this is specifically looking at the lighting market in North America, approximately a $1.5 billion marketplace that is growing 6% year over year. Of that market, we broke out a little bit into controls, just to highlight the fact that this is becoming more of a market demand as trends in regulatory require controls for energy consumption purposes, and also as retailers look to have more management of their locations. Controls provides a very powerful tool for them to do that. Relative split, our view of the marketplace, approximately 34% of the market is new construction, and 66% of that market is renovation of an existing space. And we estimate around $48 billion installed base of lighting and lighting controls in North America. And when we look at what we believe, Acuity has been around for quite some time, over 80 years, and as we look at how retailers are renovating the existing spaces, we believe that by 2021, approximately 55% of that retail space will be converted to LED. What's important to take away from this is retailers have traditionally changed out lighting to save on energy, and this will be the last time that retailers can actually do that. Because LEDs have come to the point now where they are so economical and they provide so much, they're so cheap to run, that the next time around that they change out the lights, they won't get the same energy savings they will now by going from traditional source technology to LED. So it's really important as retailers think about this, that this is the last time they really will be changing out their lights for energy savings. And the next piece of the market to help understand is really looking at the types of indoor positioning technologies that are available. This is relatively a new space. Those of you on the line that are from the retail environment know far well that this has been around for 10, 15 years, various types of technology, whether it be video, Wi-Fi, you've got GPS, you've got near-field communication, which is catching on. But when we talk about how lighting is enabling indoor positioning through the uses of various technology, it's relatively new. And what I'm trying to highlight here is that there's only a few places in the world where this has either been piloted and rolled out: the United States, France, and Germany. There's only 3 current major players that are in the lighting-enabled indoor location. Acuity recently announced that we've got approximately 40 million square feet deployed in North America. And to talk a little bit more about the technology that's in this white paper is my colleague Vinod.
All right, thank you, Jay. This is Vinod. I'll cover basically 3 topics here. What is IPS generally and at a high level? And then we'll peel a couple of layers and look at how does IPS work with luminaires, with both visible light communication and with Bluetooth. And then hopefully with the example that I'll give you, you'll understand why does lighting make sense with IPS. So think of IPS as generally as GPS indoors. And we all know that GPS doesn't work as soon as you enter a building. you can see which building you're in, but that's basically the limitation of GPS. And mainly that's because it needs visibility to the satellites. So IPS is very similar to GPS in that you have to have a smartphone. You need an app that has a map and shows you a blue dot of your location within that map. You can use it for many different use cases, find a product, route through, route just like you would outdoors, but through a shopping list instead, request assistance, and other use cases that Crystal will cover as well. So Acuity's IPS is really using two different technologies, visible light communication and Bluetooth low energy. So visible light communication is using the phone's front-facing camera, and what it's doing is looking at the light fixtures to locate itself. And this type of technology gives us about 4 inches or so of accuracy in the deployments that we've seen. And then Bluetooth technology is the other technology we're using, and we're adding Bluetooth radios in every light fixture. And this gives us somewhere between 3 feet to 12 feet or so accuracy. One of our major deployments, we're getting about 3 foot of accuracy in that space with Bluetooth. The reason for those two technologies are really think of it as two use cases. One where the phone is in your hand. So when the shopper's walking around and looking at their phone, they're looking for something, right? They're looking at pricing, competitive information, or something else. Now the other use case where retailers can add on to that is where are they, or where an object is, or how to get to that object within the retail store. So that's the purpose of the VLC, so phone in hand use case. And then the Bluetooth is the other use case when the phone is not, when the shopper's not looking at the screen and has in their pocket or their purse. So they can continue to provide information, and if they would like, and they're opted in, they can get a push signal for a push coupon or something like that, and they'll know that they just received one. So two different use cases. One question that we always get about this phone in hand is, does the shopper have to hold the phone flat to be able to look at the light fixtures? And actually, if you think of the geometry, the field of view for the phone front-facing camera is actually the worst case when you're facing it flat up against the ceiling. If you hold the phone naturally towards you, you actually increase the field of view, so you actually see a lot more light fixtures. So you don't have to hold it in your hand. So digging in a little bit deeper on how the technology actually works. So let's look at visible light communication. So it's very similar to GPS as in they both use trilateration. So generally how GPS works is that it needs to be able to, a device or a car that has GPS software in it, uses at least 4 satellites that are roaming the Earth to figure out the distance to those satellites and then get an accuracy of about somewhere between 4 and 8 meters. So that's, that works outdoors, but 4 to 8 meters of accuracy indoors just is not good enough. If you think about a retail environment, within even, a 4 meter square area, there could be hundreds of products because of the density of the products in there. So this is the reason for more accurate and the need for more accurate technologies. So we've introduced VLC technology here to the market, and we've commercialized it. And basically what we're doing here is just like the satellites, where the satellites roaming around the Earth are the beacons, we have used our light fixtures as the beacons now. And it's just one-way communication. Each light fixture is modulating at a very high frequency with our driver. And because it's modulating at a very high frequency, the phone can see the image of the fixture differently than where our eyes cannot see that modulation. And the way that really works is because every mobile phone today has a rolling shutter camera. A rolling shutter camera basically is a lot more efficient in capturing images because it's capturing data and images over time. So you can see that example where the propeller on the phone, propeller on the plane looks a little bit different when you look at it from a rolling shutter camera. And if you see the image on the phone itself, you see how the light fixture looks. So when the light fixture is modulating at a very high frequency, in this example, it's modulating the code 124, the phone sees that and is able to recognize it. So that's the first step in being able to locate the phone in a given space. Then the next step is to be able to actually understand where the position is in relation to that beacon. So what we have done here is partnered with Qualcomm, and we're using their protocol called Lumicast. And basically this is optical telegraphy, right? So the protocol is what we have deployed in our software to be able to decode that fixture. And what it does is basically calculates the angle of light coming into that phone's front-facing camera. So once it is able to calculate the angle, and we also give it the position of the light fixture because the ceiling height from the floor is always the same. That doesn't change over time. So when we commission it, we just let the software know that this site has ceiling height of, let's say, 16 feet. So from 9th grade or 10th grade geometry, if you remember, if you have a triangle and you have one angle and one side, you can pretty much calculate all the other angles and sides. And that's how the phone is able to then calculate the distance between the point directly under that light fixture and where it is. So that's the basics on how VLC works, and this gives us about 4 inches of accuracy. So moving on to Bluetooth. So Bluetooth is similar to VLC in that they're both proximity-based, but they are very different in the way that they actually work and how sensitive they are to proximity. So think of it analogous to seeing and hearing. So VLC is like seeing, where you can see an object from far away, but until a point where you're so far away that you cannot really decipher what that object is. Same thing's happening with VLC in that you can decode a light fixture as long as you see it up to a certain level, and then becomes binary, and then you're not able to decode it anymore. However, Bluetooth is a little bit different in that it is more like hearing. So you know that hearing is very sensitive to how far away you are. So Bluetooth beacons, and you can see in this example here where you have concentric circles and a Bluetooth beacon right in the middle. The farther away you go from the beacon, the worse your ability to get a signal quality there. So let me use that and explain that in an example of how that actually works in real life. So let's say we have a beacon 1, and there's a phone that's able to hear the beacon 1. Well, that phone could be anywhere within the radius of reach of that beacon in that signal. So when you're looking at it from a positioning standpoint, that's really not that helpful if you have one beacon and your phone can hear it, because you could be in either direction of that beacon, and the farther away you go, the larger the error is. Now let's say we introduce another beacon in that space, and that phone is able to hear both beacons equally. If it hears both beacons equally, most likely it's somewhere in between between both of those beacons, somewhere on this red line, right? Well, that's fine if those beacons are really close because the error is small. However, if the beacons are far away, now that red line is a large space, and that's really not that helpful from a positioning standpoint because you could be anywhere along that line. So let's introduce a third beacon now. So if you introduce a third beacon and that phone is able to hear all three of them, and this is similar to GPS trilateration, now we can locate that phone to be somewhere right in between all three of those beacons. And the more beacons you keep adding, the better it is, because now you're adding more data points to know exactly where that phone is. Now this is also, if we talk about error here, so let's say you're using circle A. If you're in circle A, which is on the left side here, if each of these beacons are circle A, which is let's say 8 feet from where the phone is, even if you cannot hear one beacon, which is 10% of the time, let's say that you cannot hear that beacon, you know that let's say beacon 2 is out, you're most likely going to be between 1 and 3. Now your error is still not that much because you're only 4 feet or so away from where your original point was. But let's say you are in circle D now. These beacons are much further apart from each other. When that happens and you're not able to hear beacon 2, and by the way, beacon 2 is not going to be heard majority of the time because the signal quality is worse, now your error rate has really increased tremendously. So this is why it's very important to have a good density of beacons, and having good density gives us good signal quality. So let's apply that in real world and look at it in a retail environment. So in this example here, we have a simple, a general store of retail layout with a floor layout of a typical store. This store may have 2 types of ceilings, most likely an open ceiling or a grid ceiling. And that matters to us in the lighting world because we look at the type of light fixture that will go in there. So what I'll do here is add on the ceiling layout, which we create at the time of commissioning. So here's a ceiling layout on top of the floor layout. And what you're seeing here is a typical 2 feet by 4 feet tile of a grid ceiling. And these fixtures are deployed at 16 feet by 12 feet, which is very typical for a store like this. And the purpose of deploying lighting in that way is to really canvas the store in a very even way, so there are no dark spots and hot spots. And generally, lighting in a retail environment is going to be requirement, could be somewhere between 40 and 60 foot candles, and that the retailer is able to do this by deploying it in such a way. What we have also done here is that we've added on beacons on top of that to every light fixture. So all these yellow blocks that you see, 2 by 4 blocks, are the light fixtures, and the little blue dot in there is the Bluetooth beacon. The Bluetooth is also being powered by the light fixture. So in this environment, as you can see from the previous example of how Bluetooth works, regardless of where you stand or where that phone is in this space, on an XY plane, it's most likely it's no more than 6 to 8 feet away from a beacon. And even if one of the beacons is out, you can see that there's multiple other beacons that can complement and provide more data points to continue providing a good positioning data point of where that phone is. So as you can see, the beacons are being powered by the light fixtures, so that gives the retailer some advantages. One, you don't have to worry about the maintenance of the beacons if they were deployed individually. What's going to happen with most individually deployed beacons on the floor level is, one, you run out of battery after a couple of years, so they're easy to deploy but hard to maintain. So you don't have that issue with the light fixtures and the beacons being in the light fixtures. And because the beacons are in the light fixtures, you have more density, and you can see that the density allows for better positioning. And then if you have better positioning capability, you can actually provide a better customer experience. Let's say the retailer wants to send a push signal to somebody who's looking at who they want to send it to them when they're looking at eggs. Well, when you have really good positioning and you know that somebody is actually looking at eggs, that's the only time they will get it, and they will not be annoyed by that signal. So not just customer experience, but the retailer's ability to do more is possible with this kind of deployment. So, Jay mentioned that the lighting industry is changing right now, and there's multiple reasons for that. One is the advent of the technology. The other is the fact that the price of lighting has come down tremendously over time. And then the other one on top of that is that the efficiency of light fixtures has also increased tremendously over time. In the last 5 years, the price has dropped, and the efficiency has increased so much that most retailers, if they're converting, when they convert from traditional light source, whether it's HID or fluorescent, when they convert to LEDs, they're going to see a very good payback. So in this case, you can see this example, and this is a very, very simple, basic example where you see the blue lines as the traditional light source and the green as the LEDs. And what happens over time is that because the LEDs are so efficient, they consume way less energy than traditional light source. The operations cost goes down for that particular building, and that ends up being a 2 to 3 year payback most of the time. And that's not even considering the government incentives for more green buildings, the utilities that are giving rebates to building owners for putting in more or fixtures that consume less energy, and also not considering if the retailer uses controls. So controls are things that can continue to dim down the fixtures and consume less energy in certain areas, or just turn off if a certain area is not being consumed, if there's no one in that area, for example. So we talk about indoor positioning as a customer experience piece, right? So most people think of it, well, you can provide a lot more customer experience, improved customer experience, but there's really a lot more benefits to that. It's not just the live information of where you are, but also the historical data of how customers are using the store. So today, the retailers, when they deploy IPS, not only can they get and understand how the customer feels about their store, but also see the historic traffic of how the store is being used, whether the end cap that they deployed in a space is actually being consuming or stopping people to go look at it. So there's a lot more other information that you can get, the retailers can get from this IPS data. And we're partnering with Microsoft Azure here to send all of our data, that's the XY coordinates that we receive, and we store there, and then we're pulling into our analytics software, which we recently deployed to our customers. And what you're seeing here is a few screenshots of our analytics solution. On the top left, if a retailer has, for example, multiple stores across the country, they're going to be able to see all their retail locations. They can zoom into a location and understand the traffic patterns there. Dwell time, how many visitors came in, and were they first-time visitors or repeat visitors. They can also compare two locations. Let's say there are two stores in a couple of neighborhoods. What is it like in those two stores in a peak hour? Or look at the same store and compare different times within that store. So there's a lot of data that can be gleaned from the traffic patterns within a store that really doesn't even consider any of the point-of-sale data. So retailers can really start to take that and understand the conversion of the traffic versus the point-of-sale. And because because a lot of retailers already have their own analytics solutions or analytics platforms, what we have done is created this as a platform where not only can we take in our VLC and Bluetooth data points, but if they already have some other technology like Wi-Fi or other beacons, this analytics platform can consume those XY coordinates and put it on our dashboard. It can also consume other information regarding sales of that store from the retailer, put it in our dashboard. Or we can send all of this into a REST API that can be consumed by the currently used solution that the retailer may already have. Some examples here may be like a Tableau or Domo that some customers are using. So we're making it so that this information can be deployed into their solution. So that wraps up the how indoor positioning works. I'm going to now hand it over to Crystal.
Thanks, Vinod. Yes, so Navigant Research conducted independent research on indoor positioning in the retail segment for Acuity. And what I'm going to be talking about today is sharing some of our findings from that research with you all about how retailers are currently using indoor positioning. And what we found within this area, it pretty much falls into three main groups, and that's improving the customer experience, gaining operational efficiencies, and in-store analytics and business intelligence. So that's what I'll be focusing on today with you all. So lighting-enabled indoor positioning, though it's still very limited, is gaining traction as retailers are really realizing the benefits that these solutions offer. And as Jay mentioned earlier, as LEDs are continuing to experience growth in the lighting market. So the first area that I'm going to be talking with you all about today is improving the customer experience by providing a more personalized shopping experience. And what our research shows is that indoor positioning is enabling retailers to provide an in-store experience that's a little more akin to an online experience. So one example of this is that by using a retailer's app, a customer can read product reviews while they're in the store directly in front of a specific product, and that this can help them make a purchasing decision, which is the benefit of online shopping and hasn't actually historically been available for that in-store use. Another way that retailers are improving the customer experience is that a customer can create a shopping list at home or remotely, pretty much anywhere, through a retailer's app to use then later in store. And when that customer arrives to the store, they can then receive real-time inventory information and also navigational assistance to help locate the products that are on that shopping list. So this helps the customer find those products quicker and really have a less frustrating experience than if they had trouble finding a specific product that was on their list. Additionally, by tying that in-store inventory to the retailer's online store through the app, a customer then has access to more available inventory and has the ability to purchase the product through the app if it's not available at the customer's current physical store. So through our research, we found that by having all of this information literally at their fingertips, the customers are more likely to purchase the products at that store instead of becoming frustrated by the fact that either the product is out of stock or they can't find it in the store, and then they become frustrated and leave the store to go purchase the product elsewhere. So the next point I want to discuss here is improved employee assistance. So if a customer needs help that they can't get through the app, or maybe there's just a customer that prefers that person-to-person interaction and they want the help of an employee, they can quickly request an employee's help through the app, and an employee will be directed right to that customer's location. So having to go search for an employee to answer a question, as I'm sure we can all attest, is really frustrating. But having this lighting-based indoor positioning that's very accurate allows that employee to find the customer's exact location and assist them easily. The next area that I'm going to talk about on how retailers are helping improve that customer experience is these customized coupons. So the precision of visible light communication and Bluetooth Low Energy can provide retailers and brands with that information to know when a shopper is in front of a specific product. So again, the level of accuracy here is really important. This enables the retailer or a brand to send a coupon to a customer so they receive a discount for a specific brand of, say, pasta sauce or a cleaning solution or some other product. And by providing that coupon to a customer at that exact moment that they're standing in front of that specific product is really critical to providing additional purchasing incentives for the customer to purchase a specific brand of the product that they're already really considering, but now they're going to get it at a discounted price. So this also works to provide a purchasing incentive on a little more general basis. So for example, if a retailer sends a customer a coupon for a discount on all t-shirts when a customer is standing in front of the t-shirts, maybe the customer wasn't necessarily set on buying a t-shirt, but now they have a little bit more incentive to purchase it if they're going to be receiving a discount for that product. The next way that retailers are using indoor positioning is for gaining operational efficiencies. So one of the main ways that indoor positioning is helping with this is that these technologies can enable handheld store navigation. So what this does is it's allowing employees to instantly locate any product for a customer through that handheld device. So our research has shown that this is really significant because it's allowing new employees to be effective more quickly on a store floor. And what this means is that the store data that the employees now have access to, it's allowing them to search for a product right away and identify not only where it's located within the store, but then also if that item is in stock, and they don't have to have specific departmental knowledge. So this really can help retailers utilize their employees more effectively to work in more departments, and it can also help a new employee be more effective more quickly. So at the same time that the retailer is receiving these benefits, the customer is also receiving benefits because they're being able to have their questions answered quickly and effectively, and they don't need to be directed to a different employee that might specialize in a different department if they have a few different questions on products and where those are, and they're in different departments. That one employee that they're asking can provide all of the information to them, even if they're a new employee. So the next way that indoor positioning is helping retailers gain operational efficiency is as a management tool. So through indoor positioning, a manager can monitor both employees and customer locations, and they can do this either from their office or from a mobile device if they're out on the store floor. And what it allows them to do is a manager can then effectively deploy associates to high traffic areas as needed, and this means that customers receive additional assistance as needed. So indoor positioning can also increase operational efficiencies by improving stocking and returning goods cycle times. And additionally, it's helping retailers execute the buy online, pick up in store flawlessly by really allowing an employee to find the ordered products in the store and have them ready more quickly for a customer to pick up. And this final area that I'm going to be talking to you all about today is in-store shopping behavior analytics and business intelligence. So retailers have the ability to gather significantly more analytics and insights into customer behaviors from their e-commerce channels than they do from their physical stores. And wanting more and more data is a growing trend not only in retail, but really just in everyday life as data is becoming more available. And historically, gathering those same insights into the customer behavior for in-store operations has been really expensive and not cost-effective to the point that retailers don't have access to this information. our research has shown that retailers are actually beginning to see more in-store analytics through the use of indoor positioning. And this is providing an increase of customer insight for those in-store shopping. And what this is doing is it's providing a really large competitive advantage for these brick and mortar operations that they didn't previously have. So it's allowing the retailers to not only gain the improved insights into the customer behavior, but also into their available products and to their employees. And another way that these in-store analytics are important to retailers is that they can link in-store behavior to online shopping. So what I mean by this is that if a customer is spending a lot of time in front of laundry detergents, for example, a retailer can then use that information and link it to their in-store and online shopping so that the customer is receiving coupons and information for those products or similar products that would be more relevant to that customer as opposed to just a wide target of products that might not be relevant to that customer. So in-store shopping behavior analytics through indoor positioning is allowing retailers to really leverage this store traffic data. These analytics are showing the average time that customers spend in specific departments. And by knowing that, and then also by knowing where within each department sees the most traffic, retailers can really increase revenue from consumers' packaged goods brands. So for example here, if a customer or customers are consistently standing in front of, say, a certain brand of cereal or maybe a certain type of chips, then the retailer can make adjustments and move those items to an end cap where customers will be able to see them easier. And then, as Vinod mentioned, they can actually track and see if those new displays are actually working and if people are stopping and looking at them more and if that's helping increase revenue on those products. So a longer-term benefit from the additional analytics is really improving the store layout based on the flows of customers' actual walking paths. And since lighting-based indoor positioning in retail is still kind of relatively new, changing the store layout we found hasn't really been utilized in the same way as some of these other aspects that we've discussed. But during our research, retailers did state the importance that they see with adjusting the store layout based on these customer walking paths, and that they do plan to use this benefit more going forward, even if they haven't taken advantage of it as far currently. So I hope from the examples that I've given from what we have found during our research that you are really able to see not only is there huge potential going forward, but that retailers really are already taking advantage of this lighting-based indoor positioning to help their customers provide a more seamless shopping experience and really provide value to this changing retail landscape. So I just wanted to thank you all for joining us today, and I'm going to hand it back over to Matthew now.
Thanks very much, Crystal, and thanks to Jay, Vinod, and Crystal for an excellent presentation. So now let's get into some of the audience's questions. We have several queued up here, so let's start with this one. Our first question often arises when we talk about collecting consumer data, and that is, what are the concerns about consumer privacy and what's being done to address them? Jay, could we start with you on this one?
Sure. This comes up quite a bit. We were recently at Shop Talk last week, and I think that we got asked that question 9 times out of 10. So two different things, privacy, security. From a privacy side, Acuity is actually not collecting the data. This information is actually staying at the retailer. The platform relies on the retailer's app, and at that point, typically there's not personalized information being collected. It's more the unique identifier of that phone, so a number, if you will. So it's more or less just tracking how often that phone is actually going into a space, and then tying that back to their journey on their website, for example. Data like this, as Vinod said earlier, consumers are getting more free to share their location data. So location-based data information sharing is not new. If you think about apps like Waze that uses location-based data, crowdsourcing that data to provide optimum routes, the consumers find value in that, and that's the trick. As long as the consumer finds value in the service that you're providing, there's more of a tendency to allow that information to be given up. And security-wise, this is a system that sits independent of the retailer's point of sale data. So there's no individual data that's actually tied to this system. Yeah, Vinod, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
No, I think that covers it pretty good. I think it comes down to the retailer being able to provide value for something in return. And we've seen, over time that Gmail and Maps and others software that we have on our phones provide value, and customers are giving up information for that. So I think that's going to continue to happen.
Great. Thanks very much, gentlemen. Let's move on to another question, and this one is a little bit more just sort of the practicality, the basics of floor space. And the question is, do I need to change every light fixture? Vinod, would you like to take that?
Sure. Yeah. So yeah, I guess if somebody's looking at IPS for the first time and thinking about it and understanding that, okay, well, I need to put this in light fixtures, that seems like a daunting task. Say, well, I need to go and update every single light fixture. But what's really happening is that the industry is already changing, as we have mentioned here. So, we are currently working with a majority of the top 50 retailers in North America, and just about every single one, and I would say actually every single one, is converting their lighting to LEDs. And they're all at different parts of their journey in that conversion. Some may be at a lower percentage of their total retail space versus some they may have actually completed it. So, what we're doing is really just providing an additional technology at a very low additional cost to provide an infrastructure that's going to be there for a long time. So the answer to the question is yes, you would need to convert every light fixture as you would do anyway, but now IPS becomes a rider on that conversion that's already happening with these retailers.
Thanks, Vinod. We have another question that's really sort of a follow-up to that, or it's along the same lines, and let me throw this one to you as well. What if you have a sloped ceiling and your fixtures are at varying mounting heights? What are you going to run into there? Is it still going to work?
Yeah, there's actually not going to be any impact to that. The mat still works the same as far as being able to locate on an XY plane. So the accuracy on the Z plane is not the same as on the XY plane, but that's if the retailers or the shoppers are not moving vertically, they're okay. So it's basically if they're walking around the store and the ceiling has a sloped ceiling, that should still be just fine.
Great. Thanks very much. So let's move on to another one here. How is IPS being used to support the latest retail trends? Crystal, could you get us started on this one?
Yeah, so this is something that I touched on briefly during the webinar, which is a growing trend in retail, and that's the buy online, pick up in store. And so through indoor positioning, employees are able to know when a customer has entered the store. They can provide them with better customer service by kind of eliminating that need for the customer to stand in line to wait to pick up their online purchase. And then employees can more easily deliver the BOPUS order directly to the customer. And really that's making that entire transition easier and quicker for the customer and for the retailer. And then also one other point is just that indoor positioning can help with the retailers fulfilling those orders, because with the help of that handheld device, an employee can select the items in store from the online order, and they don't have to have that knowledge of where those products are, but they can quickly get them, which can help speed up that entire process.
Good. Thanks, Crystal. We have another question that's come in here. I'll send this over to you, Vinod and Jay, and you can decide who'd like to address it first, and that is just what differentiates you, Acuity Brands, from your competition in IPS? What's your leading edge?
Okay. Sure, I'll take that. This is Vinod. So I would say, we've got really three major reasons why I think we're a differentiator. One, we have deployed in over 40 million square feet of space, which means that we have been learning from our customers and actually developing the product with them. So we're not doing it in a lab and predicting what may be needed. We're actually out there in the real world and working side by side with the retailers to understand what their needs are in building our product. And that's the reason why we have been continuing to grow in our commercial deployment. The other ones is that we actually have a full solution stack for our customers. So what that means is we have the Bluetooth module, we have the firmware at the Bluetooth module. We have deployed this technology into multiple luminaires. We actually have the largest luminaire portfolio of any company that has IPS technology in it. And we're continuing to grow that luminaire portfolio because we understand not every retailer is going to put the same fixture in every space. That takes away from the retailer's personality of the store and the environment. So that means that as a lighting provider, we have to continue to not just create the appropriate light fixtures for all the retailers, but now try to solve this other need of omni-channel experience with our light fixtures. So that means that we have to continue to deploy it. So we've got the Bluetooth module, we've got the luminaire. We're internally building our firmware that creates the functionality of how that luminaire works. We recently acquired a company called Distech, which is a controller for HVAC or now for lighting as well, which allows us to basically over the air remotely dim down a sales floor. It allows us to create zones, or the retailer to create zones within the store. So for example, generally knowing lighting, we know lighting, and we know that in a clothing environment or clothing part of the store, the clothing itself is going to absorb more light than, let's say, the jewelry section. So now that you have this capability of creating zones within a store, you can make the zone of the clothing area higher light output, let's say 120% of the standard of the rest of the store, and then the jewelry area 80%, so which keeps it energy neutral as well. So the Distech has given us new capabilities in expanding the capabilities that the retailer can do. That also allows us to continue to future-proof the store for the customer, meaning that we can over the air and remotely send a firmware upgrade to the controller through the Ethernet cable that it's connected to, and then the retailer can use that and update their Bluetooth firmware, for example. And then finally, you saw we're also adding on other layers of software that we see and have heard from our customers that are really important to them, which is the analytics. And in fact, one of our customers called it a game changer for them, because now they're really understanding how the store is being used versus just the point of sale data. And then they can monetize it as well with their vendors in understanding the importance and the value of the real estate space within that store itself. So our solution stack has been continuing to grow over time. The luminaires are continuing to grow. We recently also acquired a company called Juno, and Juno, is a leader in the market for downlighting and track lighting, and that's been added to our portfolio. So we're continuing to grow and adding IPS technology there. So I would say those are the main points of how we differentiate ourselves.
Yeah, I think that's good. The only thing I wanted to add to that is you talked about the analytics side of things. We know our customers are gathering data from other types of technology. So our lighting platform, we've got the various form factors that can accommodate various spaces within a retail environment. But there's other types of technology out there that retailers may want to use down the road, whether it be Wi-Fi, whether it be GPS, whether it be near field communication. What we want to be able to do is have this platform, since it's part of this building now. It's an investment that it's ready for other technologies that can come out that can complement their existing location platform. We think that's something that's setting us apart as well from our competition. And it's also complementing. We're not looking at this other types of technology as competition. We're looking at something that we can adapt into this ecosystem that can complement the retailer's use cases.
Thanks very much. Actually, Vinod, you mentioned future-proofing, and that leads us into our next question, which is, we have technology that's changing pretty quickly here. Why should a retailer consider this now versus later?
No, that's a great question. And we were at NRF recently in January also. And I looked around, and you see so many different companies over there with so much technology. And as a retailer or a retail executive, you have to be asking yourself, which technology solves which problem, and how do I know that this is going to be around for a while? So one thing you can know with Acuity is that Acuity is going to be around for a while. We've been around for 80 years, so that's in itself a differentiator there. I would say also with the LEDs, as I mentioned earlier, yes, LEDs have reduced in price a lot over the last 5 years. The efficiency has increased tremendously over those last 5 years. But what we're also seeing is that is now reaching a plateau. So the adoption of LEDs itself is increasing at a very rapid pace now because there's not that much more increase to be had in the LPW, which is lumens per watt, so the efficiency of the light fixture. So from the lighting itself, it makes a lot of sense to do it now, and mainly because everybody is already converting to LEDs in their stores. So we are already talking to all the retailers that we work with, their facilities folks, and saying, and already having those conversations of how many stores do they want to convert to. So the technology is changing, but what you're also creating here is the most cost-effective solution from a customer standpoint. So when I look at NRF and all the technologies there, every single one of them that's being deployed is an additional technology that the retailer may not already have. So you add in beacons in a store. Well, that's additional infrastructure. You add in other hardware. That's additional infrastructure. This is the only technology that's out there today that is the infrastructure already exists with the grid power, and then the value proposition is so simple, and it pays for itself not because of this technology by itself, with IPS, but it's because the LEDs themselves are paying for themselves, and the IPS is only a very small percentage adder. So this is really the right time to do it because the industry is going to, retailers, basically, all retailers are going to go ahead and convert to a different light fixture in the next 5 years. So now is the time to go ahead and add.
Thanks, Vinod. Crystal, anything that you'd like to add to that, just from a general perspective in the research that you did for the white paper?
I think you really covered it there. Anything else that I would have added, actually? So.
Very good. Thanks. Let's move on to the next question then. And that is, how does the information get shared with retailers? Do they have to pay for the data that's collected? Who'd like to start on that one?
So this is Jay. I'll take it. So right now, actually, Acuity is not collecting the data. We're simply providing the platform that allows the data to be collected with the retailer's platform. So our customers, we leverage their app, for example, and their platform. That data gets then collected via we use, Vinod mentioned, we're partnered with Microsoft's cloud, Azure, to host that data, and that data then resides with the retailer. So we don't. That's not part of what that's part of the data that's collected by the retailer. I mean,
yeah, so we're providing a Blue Dot service, so it's just the service module, basically a service pricing there. So Acuity's providing the light fixtures and the Blue Dot service, which is the XY coordinates, which we're storing in our cloud, along with the ID of the phone, of the device. But the retailer has all of that data as well, and they have more information. The retailer would have the information about the customer's profile that we don't get. We stay out of the personally identifiable information, also known as PII. So it is a retailer's data, and all we're doing is really providing a Blue Dot service in that case.
Thanks very much. It looks like we're getting up to the top of the hour, so I believe we've answered all the questions we can for right now. I'm going to hand it back to Jay. Jay, if you'd wrap up for us.
Absolutely. So first of all, I'd like to just thank everybody for their time, and thank you for the Navigant team for this research. This is helping us and our customers out to understand the use cases. Hopefully that the folks on the phone had a chance to learn something with this. For those of you, there's actually quite a few questions we were not able to get to. We will, Vinod, myself, and Crystal will take the time to personally answer all of these for you, and we're also available if you have questions outside of this. So if you guys, hopefully you enjoyed this webinar. If you would like to speak with us about indoor positioning, go ahead and click that confirm button, and one of us will reach out to you. Okay, great. And if you want more information about this platform and solution, please connect with us on our Smart Retail page. More information, use cases, videos, and other data that you can glean and learn from our system. So again, thank you everybody. We really appreciate your time today, and have a great rest of your day.